Hi ladies and gentlemen, today's April 3rd. Starting tonight at dusk is Passover on the Judaic calendar. We're going to go with that because the people that we're concerned about that are causing a lot of the problems, the Rothschilds in particular, follow that calendar. And as we've discussed in the past, a lot of things have happened on these dates. I did a video here a few days ago about the Sputnik news agency and how they identified the Jade Helm southwestern United States exercise as actually a practice to go into Iran and Syria, and I showed you that map overlay. I did that because I think that you need to know as much as we do and everybody else to try to understand what's going on here. You know, it's not because of lack of understanding, it's because anytime you're looking at what the enemy is doing, and that's really what they are to us as an enemy, it's difficult to figure out how their operation is actually going down, but you always err on the side of caution, at least I do. So at any rate, this is another explanation of that whole thing, because now we've decided, after re-looking at this entire thing, that it's not about Iran and Syria, that it's actually about doing exactly what we said they were going to do in the southwestern United States, and this video will explain that. First and foremost, I want to address law enforcement, military, police, those people, to look at the issues, even just on this YouTube channel, and see how we've been correct about so many things over the years, okay? Probably better than 90%. The most recent being, as Bram pointed out, the fact that the euro dollar is having this impact around the world, and how everything is focusing towards grabbing the land here in the western United States. They need that for collateral. This is a wake-up call to you people in the military and the police to choose to save the republic, not to follow the powers that be and telling you to do unconstitutional things against the American people. You don't want to do that. You really don't, because you'll go down in the end as well. That, you know, the red list, the blue list, the green list, go look it up. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Find out where you are on that, because you are there. So we want to save the republic, and the powers that be have it planned so that it's destroyed. Okay? They either are going to destroy all of mankind, or they're going to stay in power, and I want to make sure that you understand that. The next step here is that we want to talk a little bit about Reed. Last year, Reed and Gillespie and Holder and all those guys found themselves in a bad situation because of what we were able to accomplish at Bundy Ranch. And Reed got beat up. Isn't that funny? And some other bad things have happened. Of course he got beat up. It's real obvious that somebody beat him up. If it wasn't his wife, it was the Chinese. Okay, I'm not sure who it was. But at any rate, something bad happened there. The point is that their ultimate goal is to remove our liberties. And they tried to use him for that, whether it was the Chinese or the Rothschilds. We do believe the Chinese were involved in that. But the Rothschilds were upset at it because this is their collateral here, these Western lands. So it's important to realize that this is a big, big problem for these guys. And Americans are the victims of this planned destruction. These guys are psychopaths who would prefer the destruction of all mankind over the loss of their own power. I think that's important for you to realize. I already mentioned Sputnik and the importance that we evaluate all the circumstances involved in that. The name Jade Helm has been suggested by some to be an indication that the Chinese are in charge. We're going to refute that at this point. We think it's a misnomer or a diversion. Why? Because if this were an extraction program to identify the dissidents in this country, the real constitutionalists, the conservatives, the gun owners, the legislatures of Nevada and Utah and even Texas who have tried to go against the federal government, we're going to explain that in a minute. The Chinese really don't have the power to do that, even though they did say they wanted Obama to disarm the American people after Sandy Hook. But so does any tyrant want to disarm us. But China does not control the Western banks. It doesn't control the Department of Defense or the Pentagon. It doesn't control the CIA, and it doesn't control anything else really here other than corporate. Yeah, the media. It doesn't control the media. But who does? The Western banking system, the Rothschilds, they do.
The motive is obvious. It's transparent. When you look at this with a worldwide perspective, you'll come to realize that the Rothschilds are going to be buried by the Chinese if they don't get these Western lands. They've already backed out as far as having a collateralized account with their vaults, with their gold. As I said before, they got caught and their gold was, a lot of it was gold-covered tungsten. And they can't compete. And they've lost the IMF, they've lost the rest of the world outside the United States, they have lost the rest of the world as far as their customers, the people that are actually using their banks. So that is also power. So they've lost a tremendous amount of power. It's important to also understand that the Chinese, to say they're not friends with the Rothschilds is really an understatement. Also, anybody has to do is go look at the Opium Wars at the turn of the century, and you're talking about old families, old connected families, and what you'll find is that these people never ever forget. And during the Opium Wars, the British, backed by the bankers, went in and committed genocide, tremendous atrocities against these people. Why? Because that opium was being paid for in gold, okay? And what the bankers were just leeching the gold out of China. So here we go, now it's a situation where the Chinese have the opportunity to take the lead in the world in this banking industry, this banking institutions, which is going to leave the Rothschilds out in the cold. The problem that the Rothschilds are looking at is the world is waking up very, very quickly. And once the world figures out what they have done, all these atrocities and genocides we're talking 2-3 centuries, okay? We're talking about a $500 trillion family. Dynasty, there you go. And they're going to lose it all. Not only going to lose that, but there will be no place for these people to hide. Once it's all out in the open, all their genocides, their atrocities, their pedophilia that they've been pushing on the rest of the world, they're done. It's over for. So they've got to get these Western lands. There's something like $126 trillion in minerals alone in these Western lands. And they're going to do whatever it takes to get these lands. So this Jade Helm thing, this is like their last shot at it. And if this goes down, they're going to go down in flames.
And this really is about, I mean, think about this. One of the things that Obama did was sign an executive order, and there's a thing about sedition in the Constitution too. But the Alien Sedition Acts are outside that. But the point is that the government will take action when it thinks its authority is threatened. Now, not only are individual citizens calling the federal government on its supposed authority that it's usurped, but so are the states with the nullification laws that are going into effect. And now, most seriously, you have entire state legislatures, the Utah being the first one that said, you feds have to get off our land. This is our land. It was supposed to be that since we became a state, and we're taking it back. Now we have Nevada doing the same thing, and there are other states that are joining this coalition. Let me point out, these legislators are now on that red list. If they weren't before, they are now. If they vote for this, they are on the red list. And I think they all know that, but they're willing to be courageous and stand up for it. Military police, who are you going to protect? The people in the right use of their constitutional rights, which are God-given rights, guaranteed and protected by the Constitution, or are you going to go against it? You got to think about that. I want to point out real quick that immediately after Reed's failure at Bundy Ranch, the documents on Fast and Furious and Benghazi were suddenly and mysteriously released to Judicial Watch, who had been trying to get those. The Rothschilds were going after Reed and Gillespie and those guys for what they looked at as a betrayal.
I'd like to add something here, going back to what I was saying earlier about the Rothschilds and their control. Their puppets here in this country is a Foreign Relations Commission. Worldwide, it's a trilateralist. They created a monster. They really have lost control over these people. And they will be the first to hang. When you stop and look who's on the Foreign Relations Commission, you're probably the majority of your Congress, the majority of your Senate. You got generals and colonels and all kinds of politicians, bankers, the members of the Foreign Relations Commission. So they created this monster, which is right here. Okay, it's not overseas. They're right here. And that's an important thing to understand. I'm always talking about the Rothschilds, but it's more important to understand that these people that I have mentioned, they will be the first to hang. It'll start with them, and then you look at Hillary Clinton, Obama, Eric Holder, there's all those people, on and on and on, Barbara Boxer, Dianne Seinfeld, all of them. These have colluded with these bankers, and they are their point people here in this country. So those people are worried. They're very, very concerned. The other thing is they've lost all their money. They had all their money in offshore bank accounts that they have stolen from the American people. They are in essence broke, except for what they get paid on yearly, just like the rest of us do. So they want their money back. They're desperate for that, and now they're also desperate for their own personal protection. So it's really important to know who's the motivating force behind this Jade Helm.
So I'm back on Jade Helm again. We've given you this background for a long time, and now we're certain of it. Jade Helm is most likely a cover for the red list pickup. Okay, I think we've come to that conclusion now because, again, China doesn't control any of the mechanisms that would be engaged in that, at least not on the surface. The other problem is that when you see this exercise go down, they've already told us there will be people in plain clothes, there will be actors, and the military doing the pickups in plain clothes as well. So they're going to be able to tell you if you see somebody being grabbed off the street and they're screaming for help, what are you going to do? Well, they're going to say, oh, this is an exercise, don't pay attention. Really? So we're going to tell our people not to be involved in reporting these crimes, or they're going to have a special reporting center, the Fusion Center or wherever, where anything to do with the pickup is put under the rug and claimed to be an exercise?
They're just going to tell you the role players, actors, don't pay any attention to them.
So you've got to be aware that that's going to be a problem. So the people who have stood up against this tyranny in this country are really in danger at this point. Jade Helm, we think, is going to be the real thing. Okay, anything else that we need to talk about?
Yeah, I would like to just talk to these military personnel, police officers who are going to be participants in this exercise. You need to wake up. Do you want to be known as a people that lost America? Do you want history to look back at you and say, hey, they lost America. They had no clue. You took an oath. Your word is the only valuable thing that you have. If your word is no good, you're no good. If you go back on your oath, that was an oath to God and country. And if you don't wake up and if you don't do something about this, you'll be known as the people that lost freedom. You'll be known as people that lost America. And you'll also be known as the people that lost all the innocents in this country, children and grandchildren, on and on and on. Do you want that? Do you want that on your conscience? And always remember what Henry Kissinger said about the military. They're just dumb animals, cannon fodder. Do you want him to be right? Do you want him to be correct? And history, if you don't, history will show that he was right, that you are nothing but dumb animals, cannon fodder.
If you go along with this.
If you go along with it. So you need to stop and think and analyze your conscience, pay close attention to what's happening, and get away from the robotic nature of just doing what you're told, following orders. Your orders do not entail oppressing and killing American people.
Your orders do not supersede your oath to the Constitution of the United States.
Exactly.
Last little word here, unless Brandon comes up with something else. We're trying to do this in some type of an organized fashion. You need to back up and look at, you military police, back up and look at this thing from all perspectives, from those that you normally would not check it from. Okay, you've got to widen your vision here. Look at it from your own position, your rational self-interest, okay? And the golden rule. And if that doesn't work, at least go back to the principles of the Constitution that you swore to uphold.
And we're not asking you to do something that we haven't already done. Roy and I, we put our lives on the line. We had snipers pointing rifles at us. We told the day before, if we got off that blacktop road, we would be shot. Okay? We went down, in fact, Roy and I were the first ones to break it. We went right on down the river and whatever.
Did our ordinances down there despite the warnings.
And we were told if we get off the blacktop road, we would be shot. At the bridges, 40 yards away, pointing guns directly at us. Okay? We still marched right down there. We marched right down there and we faced him in the eyes. We're not asking you to do anything that we haven't already done.
God bless all of you. May your eyes be opened. May your hearts be open and your spirits contrite. Look to the God of this universe and do not listen to the evil